Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good morning and welcome to Jen Day, legislative candidate from District 49. We thank you, Jen, for joining us for our virtual legislative candidate meeting. My name is Gina Ragland, and with us today are lead AARP advocacy volunteers, Susan DeCamp, Bob Lassen, Danny DeLong, and our state president, Dave Holmquist. We appreciate your taking the time to meet and discuss issues of importance to the Nebraska 50-plus voter. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be shared with AARP members across your district prior to the election. Jen, to just start us off, if you want to start by giving us a little background information about yourself and your campaign. We're shooting for 5 minutes or less, and then once that's completed, we'll jump into the questions. So go ahead, Jen.
Okay. Great. Yeah, thank you for having me today. Again, my name's Jen Day. I'm running for legislature in District 49, which is the area of Western Sarpy County. We have been campaigning for quite a while now. I announced my campaign in December of 2018 and started canvassing and working really hard that following March of 2019. This is my first time as a candidate. I made the decision to run for state legislature a couple years back. I've lived in this district for about 8 years, and I was really disappointed, I guess, in the lack of representation that we've had down here, the lack of engagement from candidates. In the 8 years that I've lived in this district, I've had one representative from one campaign knock on my door. And that was upsetting to me. And I've never had a legislative candidate knock on my door. I've never even had a legislator or legislative candidate answer an email or a phone call from me as a constituent. So I felt like that needed to change first and foremost. I've been involved in politics and advocacy for about 10 years. And at some point I decided I wanted to do something a little more tangible. So I went back to school to get my BS in political science. I own a small business with my husband. It's called Artist Strength and Fitness. I coach all of our barbell classes, all of our Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, strength and conditioning type stuff. We have 2 kids who are 12 and 8. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. Everything's going really well. So I'm excited. This was an interesting opportunity to kind of dig into some of these questions and learn a little more about what's going on in your area. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We provided you previously with a set of 3 questions pertaining to the 50-plus in Nebraska. And again, these are issues we feel are relevant for our 50-plus members as well as their families. We have allotted 5 minutes for each of those questions, and those volunteers around the screen here this morning are going to be the ones asking you the question. Dave Holmquist, our state president, will ask the first question, which pertains to helping people stay in their homes and communities. So I'll turn it to you, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you. Jen, welcome. We're happy to have you with us. We're going to talk about livable communities, as Gina said. So a livable community is one that is safe and secure, has housing that is affordable, in other words, no more than 30% of the household income on a monthly basis, transportation options that allow individuals to travel by multiple means, and supportive community features and services for people of all ages, which allow people to remain in their communities as they age. What steps would you take to ensure all Nebraskans have access to livable communities?
Great. Yeah, thank you, Dave. So I come from a long line of fiercely independent folks. So I can definitely appreciate this question as my parents age, and my grandma, I think about her a lot as well. So I think first and foremost, access to quality healthcare is sort of a prerequisite for something like this, especially preventative healthcare. I think that access to quality nutrition, access to outdoor spaces, exercise, sidewalks, walking trails, green spaces is really important in terms of being able to prolong the independence that people have into their aging and elderly years. That allows people to stay in their homes and their communities a little bit longer without the need for outside assistance, I think. So that's kind of, I feel like, the foundation of fostering independence as people age. I also think there's some really interesting things with universal design and implementing some of those elements in people's existing homes and in their existing communities so that they can stay where they have already put down roots and don't have to move into spaces where they rely on outside assistance. So again, those are kind of the two big things that I looked at. I also, in terms of how we pay for those things, I was looking a little bit at the issues of regressive taxes. And I think implementing a more progressive income tax, I think would be really helpful in finding an avenue to start to pay for some of these options. And then making sure that industry is contributing more to things like transportation and projects that foster mobility and infrastructure for sure. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. Our second question will come from Susan Camp, and it'll address health, caregiving, home, and community-based care. Susan, I'll let you.
Good morning, Jen. It's nice to have you with us.
Hi.
Caregivers help older persons live independently at home by providing assistance with activities like bathing, dressing, and performing medical and nursing tasks, such as administering medication and wound care. Caregivers often provide these services with little or no training and a lot of times with little or no pay. So with that in mind, I have a two-part question. First, would you support helping caregivers with things such as paid leave, respite services, telehealth, and access to education and training? And secondly, how would you protect or expand paid services and supports, as well as financial security that allows more seniors to live independently in their homes and communities?
Yeah, so thank you, Susan. Your first question, yes, I would absolutely support policy that supports caregivers in those areas for sure. I think it's absolutely way past time for paid family and medical leave in the state of Nebraska. It's extremely disappointing that we haven't passed it yet in 2020. And I think that paid family and medical leave needs to extend to people who are caring for their parents, for their grandparents, and things like that. That's extremely important. I also believe that we have to make sure that I think some of the baseline programs that we have for hiring qualified staff, you've got your 75-hour CNA program. I think that's great in terms of being able to pull from a larger pool of people in terms of access to quality workforce. But I think that we also need to make sure that we're providing some kind of incentive for continuing education for those caregivers, because we know obviously that the quality of the education of the caregiver is directly linked to the quality of the care that they're giving. So making sure that, and this kind of ties into the next question, in terms of state oversight and making sure that, again, we're providing some incentive, right? So I like the idea of tying reimbursement rates to the quality of care that's being provided, and the number of qualified nurses that they have working in facilities, the quality of education that their workforce has. And I know the reimbursement rates is a whole separate thing, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But yes, absolutely, I am in full support of all of those things. And then also making sure too that we're supporting people who are, retired and not working. We're protecting their income, not taxing things like Social Security. That's another big issue that I have actually heard quite a bit about in my district in particular, is people leaving and moving away because they can't afford to live in the state of Nebraska anymore. So I think that's also something that definitely needs to be looked at.
Great, thank you for your response.
Yeah, thanks, Susan.
Great. Our third question will surround nursing facility quality, and Bob Lassen, our advocacy volunteer, is going to take that one. So Bob, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. An estimated 6,600 Nebraskans reside in one of Nebraska's 211 nursing homes. By 2040, the University of Nebraska Omaha projects that number will more than double to almost 14,000 people. Due to a variety of factors over the past few years, Nebraska has seen an increase in nursing facilities having to close and residents having to relocate elsewhere, particularly in the rural communities. How will you ensure that Nebraska residents receive quality nursing home care, including ensuring an adequate nursing workforce, education and training, and proper reimbursement?
Yeah, thank you, Bob. So again, I think that goes back to the last question and ensuring that the people that we have working in facilities are continuing in education, providing those entry-level programs, like the basic 75-hour level CNA program, but then making sure that those people are continuing on to get a more quality education, whatever those incentives might be. And also, making sure that we do have a program where states are effectively monitoring facilities to ensure quality care, to ensure that their workers are qualified to be providing the care that they're providing. And again, I really like the idea of tying those reimbursement rates to the quality of care so that the facilities that have the most educated workforce that are providing the best care to the individuals living in their facilities are getting the best reimbursement rates. I wish I had the solution for the Medicaid reimbursement rate and timeline issue. It's definitely something that I've heard about frequently throughout my campaign. I know one of the issues is in terms of for providers, the amount of time and money that it takes to continuously file for Medicaid reimbursement for the same patient over and over and over again. So I think streamlining some of the redundancy in paperwork issues, I think is going to be really important to ensure a timely reimbursement for providers, because obviously if our providers are not being reimbursed in a timely manner, then the quality of care that they're providing goes down too. So that's definitely not something that we want for people that desperately need that care. Yeah, so I think definitely making sure that we're ensuring quality education programs, incentives for continuing education, effective state monitoring of facilities, and streamlining some of the issues with redundancy and paperwork, I think are all going to be major steps forward with some of these issues.
I think that, just a quick follow-up on that, the state was looking at putting in more of a quality program. And I think where we see struggles are the smaller rural facilities that are not, big enough or are corporately financially backed enough to where they can make a lot of changes.
Okay.
Do you have any special thoughts about how we could help them update their quality in those rural areas?
I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research in terms of the rural issues. I know that that's one of the major issues is the Medicaid expansion and people not qualifying for care in the first place. So I'm hoping that we can alleviate some of those issues with the implementation of Medicaid expansion. However, I would definitely spend some more time looking at how we can help foster better care in those rural areas for sure. So it's not something that I have a lot of personal experience with right now, but it's good to know that they are working on implementing something, because I think this is an issue that's been going on for a really long time, and something needs to be done for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And we still have a few minutes before our meeting would conclude. And so I would just want to open it back to anyone else around the screen. If you have other additional questions for Jen you'd like to pose, now would be the time to do so.
I guess I would just expand a little bit on the financial security. One topic could be maybe the high drug prices, ways that we could help with the unexpected increases in the out-of-pocket cost for
Sure.
seniors. Things like allowing mid-year formulary in the health plans.
Okay.
Currently you can only go in and change that once a year.
Okay.
Ideas like that, negotiating on medicine. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, that's wonderful. Thank you. So some of this stuff, I try to be as knowledgeable about all of this as I can in terms of my surface level interaction with some of these issues. And I hope to understand these issues a lot better once I get into the legislature. But I have open ears and an open mind to whatever you guys think. You have more experience with some of these issues personally. So that would be my question for you right now, is if anybody has any thoughts and ideas to help alleviate some of these issues that we talked about, I'd love to hear from you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. I appreciate that.
Gina, I have a question for Jen.
Yeah.
Annie?
Jen is a small business owner.
Mhm.
I know it's difficult, as you're a small business owner, I know it's difficult sometimes to think about paid family leave benefits for caregiving.
Yeah.
And we've gotten blowback from the chambers of commerce about that because their members are afraid that they're not going to be able to handle it. What's your thinking about that?
As a small business owner myself, I get really frustrated with the idea that other small business owners aren't willing to put that into what would be just the cost of doing business, right? I feel like if you can't provide your employees with quality pay and quality benefits, then maybe you have too many employees. We've always run our business from a very basic grassroots level, and it was just my husband and I for years. We have 8 employees now, but we've always said that we never opened our business. And I think there's a lot of other small business owners that feel this way. You may just not hear from them because you hear from the other large business owners or the large small business owners, I guess. We would work from sun up to sundown, and we had a small baby, and that's just the way it was for a while because we knew we couldn't afford to hire people and pay them a quality wage and provide them with quality benefits. I think that's just the cost of doing business. And if you, it sounds kind of harsh to say it, but if you aren't willing to do that for your employees, then maybe you need to cut back on how many employees you have and pay your quality or your employees quality salary and provide them with quality benefits. I think that's just paid family and medical leave is a necessity. I think it's a foundational element of a civilized society. I think we have to be able, as a mom of 2 young kids, it was really difficult for me to be working and taking care of babies. And I know that issue continues as they are working into their teens. And I know that that's something that I worry about in caring for my parents as well. So I think it's something that encompasses all areas of life. And I think it's fundamental. And I hope that as a small business owner in the legislature, I would be able to provide some of that guidance in saying, I think there's this idea that small business owners can't afford it. And, it's going to cost you more, yes, but that's just the cost of doing business, right? And making sure that everyone is taken care of.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Danny.
Great. Thank you, Jen. And as we're coming now to the end of our meeting, I would like to offer you the final minutes to offer any closing thoughts or comments you might have or messages out to your constituency. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So again, this was a great opportunity to kind of look into some of these issues, and I'm anxious to learn more about, what I could do to support you guys in the legislature. I'm always open and accessible. That's been one of the things that I've been talking about since the beginning of my campaign, is being an open and accessible legislator. So if you have any personal things that you want to talk to me about, always feel free to email me. Jenday for Nebraska at gmail.com. I'm on all social media. You can reach me through there too. So if you ever have any questions for me or concerns from me, please contact me. And yeah, I hope that I can provide you guys with some better support in the legislature starting in January. So.
Great. Well, thank you again, Jen, for taking the time to visit with us directly. We wish you the best with your campaign, and most importantly, thank you on behalf of AARP Nebraska and its members for meeting with us today.
Absolutely. I really appreciate today. So thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.